And black men are 21 more times likely to be shot dead by police than white men. Sisters and brothers, in America, economically, we live in low-wage America. Young people are nearly 3 times as likely as adults to be unemployed. 6.4 million young people have given up finding a job. The African American youth unemployment rate stands at 35%. In St. Louis, Ferguson, the place where Mike Brown was gunned down, the unemployment rate is as high as 40%. Unemployment and low-wage jobs are the dominant feature for that district. And the median income in the district where the scene of the crime took place, people make a little bit over $14,000. Now, I don't know what that is in pounds, but I'm going to assume that's not a lot of money for you to survive on. We've had a slow economic recovery. It's been very weak. But what is interesting, that the jobs that have been created since the economic collapse of 08-09, 67% of the jobs created in the post-economic crisis has been low-wage jobs. Jobs that make between $7 and $13 an hour. That's why socialist alternatives engage in one of the most important struggles around increasing the minimum wage throughout U.S. society. On August 9th, 2014, Mike Brown, an 18-year-old, his body laid in the hot sun for 4 hours. I want to take you back, not to Rosa Parks, sitting on the bus and doing a sit-down strike that started the civil rights movement. I want to talk about Emmett Till, that 14-year-old boy out of Chicago who's down in Mississippi visiting his family. And he's in a store, and he had a speech impairment. And his mama said, every time you get caught up in your speech, whistle. And he happened to whistle. There was a white woman standing there. And the white woman went to her husband and said, basically, this little nigger had the audacity to whistle at me. And they took Emmett Till from his family's home and drug him out and beat him, shot him in his head, put an automobile fan belt around his body and dumped him in a nearby river. And when they took Emmett Till's body out, his mother, Mamie Mobley, said to the funeral director and said to the world, leave the casket open. Leave it open, because I want the world to see what American apartheid has done to my baby. And before Rosa Parks even sat down, it was that event that sparked one of the most profound civil rights movements in the world. In New York City, Eric Garner, a man who was selling Lucy cigarettes, and the reason why he was selling Lucy cigarettes, because he couldn't find gainful employment. And in many ways, the police ran up on him as if he was some great criminal, while you had CEOs of Wall Street walking scot-free, going to jail for their crimes for the economic crisis. And then you saw the videotape. Eric Garner had his hands up as 4 to 5 police officers jumped him, and they put him in an illegal chokehold. And with his last breaths, he said, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." In many ways, those deaths produced one of the most significant movements in the past 40, 50 years. But Malcolm said something at the founding meeting of the OAAU. He said, our community must reinforce its moral responsibility to rid itself of the effects of years of exploitation, neglect, and apathy, and wage an unrelenting struggle against police brutality. The youth erupted in mass anger, not only in Ferguson, but every corner of the United States. It wasn't just a question of the lack of judicial justice. It was, in fact, the conditions to which they're living under, of poverty and unemployment, of social alienation resignation and despair. The national protests have in some ways quieted down because the movement is in disarray. It doesn't know where it wants to go. It's only phase one in a more deeper struggle. But the genie is out of the bottle, and the ruling elite can't put that genie back in. It has caused great debate and discussion among even the U.S. ruling elite. On one side, we have a militarized police force. From what I understand, most of the cops don't wear guns. It is only in the more divided areas that they are heavily armed. In the United States, they're armed to the teeth. And so on one side, the ruling elite knows that they can provoke a situation by having a militarized police force. On the other side, there's others in the ruling elite that says, you're provoking these people. You're stirring them up. You're not giving them justice. You gotta be careful. And so that's the kind of debate that's going on. That's the kind of discussion that's going on in U.S. society. In many ways, President Barack Obama, the first black president, he's in a quandary because it is under his watch. He's the same man, if you all remember the 2004 Democratic National Convention. He said, there's no white America, there's no black America, there's only one America. And he put forth this post-racial paradigm. In many ways, the police violence that we're seeing tears asunder the whole idea of post-racial America and throws it in the wasteland of history. Because in many ways, this is Obama's Hurricane Katrina. He doesn't know what to do. He's paralyzed. The only way that this movement can go forward is by building a sustained mass movement with demands and organization and independence from the parties of big business, particularly the Democrats, but also the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. Don't you know that George Soros, a multi-billionaire, is funding different organizations in Ferguson? A multi-billionaire. He's not about justice and equality. He's about maintaining the superstructure of capitalism, not just in America, but globally. In order to dismantle racism, we have to tear down the edifice of capitalism. I'm a socialist, and I just don't believe in revolution for the sake of it. I believe in a global, international socialist revolution, rooted in the working class and the poor, black and white, Protestant and Catholic. That's what puts fear in the hearts of the ruling elite. They're scared. That's why if you look down in the South, the water charges struggle. They want to divide that struggle because they know what it can breed, a more profound struggle against austerity and the political establishment. As you have your same questions here around austerity. And so, I leave you with the words of Malcolm X at the Oxford Union. Malcolm was a brilliant orator. And he would say this, and in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change. And a better world has to be built. And the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, would join in with anyone. I don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.